Hey, buddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome back to Tower Dominion. Now let me give you a little background here because I have been on a bit of a vacation. I call it a vacation. I was dog sitting for my friend. Shout out to Oberon the dog. He's a big old Irish wolfhound, like 60 kilograms. And during that vacation, I basically doubled my hours in this game. And let me tell you, I've discovered a lot. I've also been talking to the developer. I threw some ideas at him. So, you know, you might see some cool new updates rumbling around with some of the ideas yours truly suggested. Just for the record, I suggested all the good ideas and I did not suggest any of the bad ideas. That's how that works, if you're wondering. Anyway, today we're gonna be teaching you how to play. So, Tower Dominion is a tower defense game in the style of Rogue Tower. Now, it is quite similar to Rogue Tower. A couple of people called it a Rogue Tower clone. I think it takes the formula of Rogue Tower a few steps forward in a really interesting way. Now, today we're going to be playing the Paragon Assault Group because of their ability Shock Troops with their extra 20 recon production. This gives them the incredible power to re-roll and control the map quite well. I think pretty much any of these leaders are at least A tier purely because they're the Paragon Assault Group. I think this 20 recon production here, with the way that the mazing mechanics work in the game, I do believe that recon, like having a strong recon resource is incredibly powerful. Also, their HQ is really interesting and really powerful. Pretty much every ability here offers significant power boosts for the faction. So we're going to try out Lieutenant Delvin today. So buildings at a height 3 will gain plus 25% damage, and we will start with a Werewolf position. We're going to activate every single negative modifier in the Frontier mode that are currently in the game. So we're going to lose 5% of our HQ health every wave. Every 4 waves, we're going to get a negative doctrine. When we reveal enemy threats, we'll lose 30% of our current money. On wave 6 and 8, we will get bad tiles. We're going to get less resources from reinforcement. I don't know why that sentence was so hard to say. Slow is going to be less effective. Neutral buildings are going to have a negative penalty. Re-rolling is going to cost us more recon. Our buildings are going to have less range, making them less efficient. Tier 3 foes are going to be faster. We're going to get less choices in reinforcements. All of our foes are going to be harder to kill. And if we combine all of our battlefronts, they're going to have another 20% HP. And we're going to be having to deal with a lurking invisible foe. So we pretty much have to get detection at some point in this game. All right, now because we are playing on a 19 skull Frontier mode challenge, we do get 3 starting boosts, and these can actually be pretty significant to the outcome of the game. I do think most of these are really good options. I'm going to go for the HQ gaining 5% repair because this helps you overcome this losing 5% HP each wave. It allows you to overcome that, and it doesn't require any resources for me to invest in to benefit from it. Ammo depots are very strong on the other 2 factions. On the Paragon, they're not quite as strong. They still are strong, don't get me wrong. These are still pretty good, and I think because the Paragon Assault Group has such good supply production, I don't think they need delayed help. Platform delivery could be really good because we are a guy who benefits from buildings being at a higher height. However, I do think the ammo depot really quite strong, in particular if we combine it with some really good locations. The relay antenna just gives us a little bit of income. The light mortars can be incredibly powerful and incredibly efficient long term, but it requires a significant investment early, which I suppose the Paragon Assault Group is better at doing. The other thing is that going for the light mortars, it will also dilute our doctrine pool. I think I'm going to go for the advanced miridor because it is basically a miridor blueprint that has +1 range and deals 20% more damage than the regular one. Now, our first tile is a straight piece, and we're going to have to talk a little bit about mazing and how we're going to be doing our mazing decisions. So currently right now, I am considering that this tile will be our main entrance tile and that it will curl this way, and that I will probably put some loops nearby. I could alternatively curl it this way. No, I think it's better to go this way. I'm trying to think of how we want to build our superstructure long term. What if I went the other way? What if I went like this, came down this way, linked these together as such? I could re-roll. I don't like re-rolling this early. I don't want this to be a straight piece. Where do I want to put this straight piece? That's the real question. It's dangerous to put it here because of the way that that's going to force me to maze later, because I will need a corner piece, and a straight piece, whereas right now I just need a corner piece, and a tri-splitter. I guess if I had a tri-splitter here, it would be better, because then, yeah. So this wants to be a tri-splitter, this wants to be a corner, this wants to be a corner, this wants to be a corner. So I really just don't want the straight police. I'm going to put the tri-splitter here because that will allow me to create loops. And loops are very, very important for the long-term mazing strategy that you want to go for. We'll kind of explain it a little bit more as we get deeper into the game. I do really like the plus 20 discovery, but I do think that the plus 100% supply production is a little bit less of a gamble and is a bit more of an assured victory. Building HP and HQ repair is awesome, don't get me wrong. However, plus 15 recon production allows me to reroll just so much and control the maze. And then 15% air damage. We don't actually have to pick this one until we know if we're going to be dealing with a lot of air this game. I do tend to pick the air one. I'm going to get started by putting a werewolf near my HQ. I normally don't open Werewolf, but I'm going to go easy access Shrapnel and then see if we can get the Warden protocol nice and early. Okay, we took a lot more damage than I was hoping for. That's fine. Let's grab ourselves a Barricade and a Puma. I'm going to put the Barricade here, and I'm going to grab for Underground Network for the extra HQ HP. And then we'll fire off the next round. This is probably a bad start. Okay, yeah, so I'd never gone for a Warden first opening, and it seems like it's actually just bad. So I think what we'll do is we'll just select this, and then we'll just forfeit and quickly restart. Retry with all the same settings, because the Warden first opener just didn't really work. I've never done it before. I think extra Doctrines early is incredibly powerful, so we're going to take that one. In terms of these, taking less damage is very, very useful. And then 5% repair, again, that just eliminates one of the negative modifiers that we have to deal with. I do really like direct orders. 15% upgrade cost is incredibly useful. Now, we do have a new maze that we need to think about. We have a tri-splitter. We could tri-split here, and then put a loop here, and a loop here. We do need this to take a straight piece at one point, so that's going to be important. We could tri-splitter there, and then this is pretty much prepped for, yeah, I think I'm going to put the tri-splitter here because this will prep this for mazing later. I'm going to start with a height 3 miridor for the plus 25% damage. That's all left side upgraded. We're going to grab orbital relay for the resource production again, plus the reconnaissance satellite, so that's extra supply and extra recon. And then this should do a good job of protecting us mostly. I think the Werewolf is a tower that doesn't quite have that early game punch that you want from it. Now, extra discovery from Battlefront, this is actually really, really good. Extra HP, ooh, the recon is really good, although we do have recon production. I think the discovery from Battlefronts, and even though the Epsilon Axiom isn't like the most useful thing for us because we're going to be building more than one miridor, but the extra discovery means any tiles that we do place, we're more likely to get good benefits from it. Now, I do think it's important early to get your detection up when you're playing on Frontier 19 because you're dealing with a lot of high-ranking Invisidudes. So we're going to go for the Underground Depot and then Logistic Reinforcement and then Close Support. This is to give our HQ extra HP, meaning if we do get hit, it kills a lower percentage of the headquarters HP, and then we also repair some of it back. That 5% repair really adds up. I will go for more Werewolves. I've become a huge fan of Werewolves. I don't want this 4-way splitter. We're going to have some forced 4-way splitters that we're going to put here later, but I don't want to voluntarily get one. I would have taken I need 3-way splitters if I can get them. I'm going to go for one more reroll. Okay, I can get away with putting a straight piece here. That's fine. It's not what I want to do, but I can get away with it. The ideal maze will take some building. Make sure we get the logistic reinforcement and then the close support. So now our HQ HP has been boosted, and we will get a little bit of repair every time we select a supply bonus. Miridor efficiency is great. I do love going for the extra recon. It's probably not necessary when you're playing the Paragon Assault group. I do think light mortar positions when placed early can become incredibly efficient long term. I also like barricades and Durandals. These are really, really good buildings. They can provide you with a lot of really good benefits. Which one do I want to go for? I think if I had to choose, man, all of these, I would say these two choices are my favorite right now. I love the Miridor efficiency because it means I get more out of something that I've already invested into. And then I think I'm just going to accept a little bit of damage on this wave. And the next wave we'll look into if we want to maybe make some changes to the design of our defense network. We're going to take a little bit of damage. We should be able to we should be able to survive wave 5. Wave 5 is a bit of a breakpoint where like a lot of early runs will die. This is just quite simply the best defensive doctrine in the entire game. It allows you to increase the base HP of your HQ, which will, when combined with other multipliers, becomes insane. Also, a nice economy boost here with the free platforms is quite useful as well. That's a lot of supply to use, so I'm gonna lose 15% HQ HP. It's half the benefit of a single miridor. Here's a three-way splitter, so this is what we want. I'm gonna put the three-way splitter right here. Tempted to build a werewolf on this tile adjacent to the advanced steel factory, and I think we will, because the extra HP from that will allow us to tank the wave 5 assault invisible alpha Laco. Yeah, he does about 500 damage, I believe, on the first wave. So a big chunk on the first time he appears. That's this ability here. You got to watch out for him. Usually, I just choose to tank him in the early game. Puma positions are incredibly strong. We don't know if we're going to be fighting air. They're really good against air. Sturdy bunkers are very versatile, and light mortars are incredibly cost efficient. Barricades are really damn good too. I think I prefer the sturdy bunker and the light mortar position. So here comes our very first forced tile placement. This is a 4-way splitter. We want to place it on this line because what we're going to do is create a wraparound and try to have our enemies walk as far along the wraparound as possible. And then once we have the wraparound completed, we'll be able to actually conjoin, we'll be able to create sway back loops that go like this, back and forth. That'll increase the length of the maze that the enemies have to walk. I'll kind of explain the mazing mechanics later, but basically, each entrance that is on a battlefront, okay, so you can see these two entrances to the HQ, right? They share a battlefront, right? Entrances, there's an entry point here, an entry point here, and entry points over here. And these entry points are going to try and get to the HQ. So what they do is, each entry point finds the shortest path, finds all possible paths to the HQ, and then ignores any paths where they have to walk against the flow of enemies for a shorter path. So basically, enemies from here, because this tile right here is going to send enemies like this, or like around this, and they'll go down that way. Enemies coming from over here, they won't want to go all the way around like this, so they're going to filter down in here. But if I can move this entry point further down the map, then these guys will start walking around further. And the same is true. So if I can create a big loop, they'll walk all the way around, or at least 25% of them will. And we can actually increase that percentage by creating loops. And we'll kind of explain the loop mechanics later. I've definitely gotten a lot more advanced with the game. So easy access is great. However, I prefer to do that when it's adjacent to the HQ. I'm going to go for heavy shells. That's going to be big damage. And then I like to go for shrapnel. You could make an argument for cybernetic loader here. 100% damage and rate of fire. Like, it's pretty damn good. But I prefer that on height 0 if I'm going to go for easy access cybernetic loader type stuff. We are dealing with a significant amount of tier 1 or tier 0 air. The Pendor, the newbie bane, as I like to call it. So miridor efficiency 2 is really good. We don't have a lot of really good blueprints. However, making miridors more efficient is quite useful. The 3-way splitter is nice. We're going to need a 3-way splitter here to be able to link these paths. I don't want it over here. I don't want to spend recon re-rolling if I don't have to. All right, let's grab a werewolf right here, adjacent to the HQ, so that we can go AAA upgrades, easy access for fire rate and reload, shrapnel for explosion and targets, and then Warden for range and damage. That's how I like to defend my HQ, with Wardens and Miridors. It's become a playstyle that I don't think they're like super hyper, like overpowered efficient. I just think they're good, like generally good. I'll put a mortar right there. It's going to be super efficient. This is very interesting. Miridor efficiency 3 plus a platform. Very interesting. The extra Miridor is also very interesting, and the extra repair per battlefront, like that would help. That will boost our HP quite a bit, allowing us to get away with being a little bit riskier. I'm going to put this entry point over here. This kind of counts as a hidden entry point. It doesn't show up in the numbers here, but enemies do come from there, even if you don't have the Brita, the tunneler. We do have Devaskors and Britas, so we're definitely going to want to be aware of that. I would love a height 3 location for this. Unfortunately, we don't have any. I could put a bunker here with a Reaper cannon to soften. And I think that's what we'll work on. I'll go for the reinforced pivot into the Reaper cannon. because we're going to need... the Reaper Cannon targets the enemy with the most HP in range, and so it's going to target down the big guys and basically soften them up for our other defenses to actually kill them. So a couple of bunkers along here set to attack the highest HP enemies will do a lot of work. Oh, double Warwolf, I love it. Taking 10% more damage on a HQ that takes 10% less damage, this basically just erases this. However, losing health every time you place a building, that can be really detrimental, so I'm going to go for the taking extra HP damage. So in terms of a 3-way splitter, we do want to create a loop over here. I kind of wish this was a corner piece. I kind of need to make this longer. So I'm going to roll and hope I get a corner. Perfect. Perfect. Ooh, and we got a plus 50 supply industrial site. I'm going to put a miridor there, even though I want to put this one over here. It's the best way to activate it. The miridor on this corner will do work. We'll go underground depot logistic. Or maybe we'll go special reinforcement long barrels. For now, it's basically just creating extra supply. But yeah, you can see how the waves of enemies are getting sort of softened up. I do need to get learning machines on my mortars. That'll give it a 5% DPS boost or 5% damage boost every round, not DPS. Another light mortar, sturdy bunkers. I do like the idea of getting platforms, particularly as this guy, Lieutenant Delvin, who likes height 3 buildings. Let's grab that. We've got the Devaskor and the Brighta coming now. Because it is a threat reveal, we're going to be getting Brightas coming out of tunnels. We're extending this. I'm going to give you easy access, then shrapnel, and we want to get the Warden protocol on you. I've got a lot of recon, but I'm going to need that recon for when we're doing mass maze rolling. Yeah, a few stealthy boys will get through and tickle us, but that's okay. We could go for a scout hideout. I think tier 2 doctrines being more likely to appear is actually a very powerful ability. We absolutely do not want a flat tile, so we will skip that. I will take a straight piece here. This is perfect. It pushes this entrance further away, which is what we want, so that more enemies will walk around the HQ going the long way. Saving up for the Warden protocol. I would like to reduce the costs of my Wardens, if I could. We have the 15% reduction for being adjacent to the HQ, which is great for Warden Warwolves. So we're not dealing with any air yet, which means we don't need... plus 5 discovery is so good. Cheaper sturdy bunkers is strong. I will be re-rolling a lot, so this is going to be worth a lot of supply, and barricades are actually really good, especially if I were to place a barricade somewhere right here. It would pretty much catch every enemy that's going to be going through. The other option would be to place it here to catch enemies who get through to the close entrance. So if you look at the range on this, you can see it's only hitting this tile. Once I get the Warden protocol, now it's hitting all the way out to here, which means its total uptime, aka its total DPS in a round, is going to be way higher. And we're going to be covering our HQ with a bunch of these Wardens whose job it will be to thin out the hordes of enemies that will come our way. Upgrade costs are reduced. Ooh, plus 20 supply per entry point is probably like, this is the most overpowered ability in the entire game. It's going to be worth what, like 240 supply per round right now? Plus a Warwolf, that's incredible. Losing all barricades is not a big deal. It doesn't actually have an effect if you don't have barricades, but that's fine. So what we want here is we want to create a loop. So I'm going to place this here. I want a corner piece, and then a tri-piece. And this will create a loop for me. Let's get ourselves another Warden, easy access shrapnel, and then a Warden protocol. We're going to take a big hit from that Alpha Laco. That's fine. We do need to start thinking about more health for our HQ. A scout hideout could be quite useful. Vicious crossfire is quite good. I'm going to go for the scout hideout, another Warden protocol. We definitely need some anti-stealth. So I think special reinforcement here plus long barrels would be useful. It'll have a pretty low uptime, but it'll do pretty good work. We've got a 50% upgrade cost reduction there. That's actually really nice. I also think maybe I should get a barricade to increase the health of my HQ. So I'll put that right there, and then we'll go for the underground network next round. Okay, a Warwolf and a Miridor is great. Oh man, I'm not having to reroll at all here, which is a blessing and a curse. So let's put you right there. Adjacent buildings get detection and range. That's really quite useful. I'm going to put another Miridor here with the underground logistic and close support, just so we have a little bit more health to play with. And then I'm going to grab myself underground network for that 30% HQ HP, meaning that anything that gets through will do a little bit less damage, percentage-wise. You see this miridor over here is just tapping away at these cloakers. Upgrade cost increases are really, really bad. Salamander positions can be really good. We haven't revealed the threat. These two buildings have really good late game potential and late game scaling. Like I could delete this light mortar position and put the Omega emitter along here, and it would just do serious work long term. This Durandal position could be incredibly good located here if I can get a significant portion of the enemies to walk around. I think I would love to get a scout hideout on height 3. We have not spawned a whole lot of height 3 this round. Here is one. It's not my favorite positioning. I could give it another +3 range and then even more. I think I would probably rather just build something else. I think I'm just going to keep leaning into the werewolves because they've been doing really good. They help tidy up the AoE mess. I love how much recon we have. It's going to really allows us to control the maze. Which is why currently, in the current iteration of the game, I do believe that the green team, they feel like the strongest. Okay, unsettling sightings, tier 1 enemies aren't that big of a deal for us right now. We definitely don't want this, so we're going to re-roll it. The 3-way splitter right here fits nicely into our plans. And then we just need a corner piece right there, and it's all starting to come together. I would like a barricade here set to underground network to get my HQ even more HP. We need to be aware of the Lakos coming. We're also going to have to deal with some Krylos. Now, we need to get some sturdy bunkers pointing this direction because the majority of the Krylos are going to be coming from this sort of line of entryways. A couple will come from over here, but we need to get a big AA battery pointing this direction. So we will need to start thinking about that. How are we going to deal with these Krylos? The Parasis is just a DPS check, but the Krylo is a problem. The Claymore defense is actually quite good against the Krylo, as you can place it sort of in their path. Also, getting extra supply from negotiation expertise isn't terrible either. We're just trying to find options to deal with our enemies right now. Let's make sure we upgrade this Warden protocol as well. We'll get ourselves another Warden, or another Werewolf, and set it up for Warden. I've definitely fallen in love with the Warden protocol werewolves just because they thin out the enemy hordes just so much. Cheaper werewolves is nice. Decimation position isn't terrible. I'll take that. Here's the corner piece. Beautiful. And so now the way that this works, oh man, we got a local underground. That's actually super good. I'm going to put I already have a mortar, so another mortar doesn't make a big difference. I'll put them on learning machines. So basically, forget about these two entrances here, right? Imagine I have this closed. Now, when an enemy spawns over here, what it does is it calculates, once I've merged all these, it will calculate the difference to each entry point of the HQ. And then it will say, I want to send a quarter of my people along each valid path to each entrance. So let's say you go from here, bum, 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 that's one valid path. And then you go along here, bum, 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 that's one valid path. And then you go along here, bum, 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 bum. Oh, there's a split in the road. So now I have to send twice as many people over here, which basically means that these two paths will get a quarter of the enemies, and this path here will get half of them. And if we could fit in another loop, which will be quite difficult, honestly, before wave 25, which is when things tend to start hitting the fan, we could pretty effectively make most of our enemies walk towards the end. Because if we were to get a second loop in here, usually I like to get my loop over here, but it just didn't work out this game. If I could get a second loop in here, which would take 4 pieces, now this path over here would have 2 times 2 valid paths, which means 4 paths would go here, 2 paths would go here, 1 path would go here, and 1 path would go here. You know, assuming everyone is starting from this point, which all of these entrances are. Which would mean, effectively, that 1, 2, 4, 8, half of the enemies would go here, 25% of them would go here, 12.5% would go here, and 12.5% would go here, which means almost all the enemies are going to walk the long way around my maze, effectively increasing the average length of my maze by a significant amount. So that kind of, hopefully that explains the mazing, why we build our mazes like this, to do with the way the AI intelligence works. Okay, Warden protocols. Let's get even more of these. Werewolves are just so good because of they have a really big splash range, 1.5 tiles, and that goes up to with this to 2.2 tiles, so they do a lot of AoE damage. The Sanction Cannon is one of the most overpowered buildings in the entire game. Getting extra damage on all of our buildings and losing HQ HP is also amazing, but I currently believe the Sanction Cannon's overpowered, so we're going to take that. We're going to have to place ourselves another 4-way splitter. Now, it's a question. Do we want to just accept that we will get 2, 4 out of 6, so 33% of our enemies will walk past this tile right here, so we'll get 2/3 of enemies walking past this tile, or do we want to create another split? I think we're just going to accept that, and I'm going to put a Sanction Cannon here, and I'll kind of explain this positioning. I want the Sanction Cannon to point down this sort of streak of lanes that I have, because in addition to that, it's also going to be adjacent to a miridor, and it will get 40% damage and reload speed if it's adjacent to a miridor. And reload speed is one of the biggest problems for these sort of Sanction Cannons. So we'll grab spotters. Now we could go for data collection or for piercing shells. Piercing shells, while fantastic if you have a lot of battlefronts, data collection is better. Like, it's already better damage and rate of fire, and it already has 2 buildings adjacent to it, and we could put a second Sanction Cannon here. We could do all sorts of really cool stuff in this location if we wanted to. So I'm going to go for data collection, and then sanctified shells will give us a huge boost in range and damage. Now, you could make the argument for flak shells because we are going up against Krylos to allow him to deal with those pretty effectively. I'm going to try to use other tools to deal with those Krylos, in particular a Claymore defense positioned like right here once we have the finances. Beautiful. Ooh, 300 supply or cheaper miridors, I think, and another Claymore. I think I'm going to go for the 300 supply so that I can get the Claymore up and running. Dealing 300 damage to the HQ isn't my favorite, but I will take it. And then we got the corner piece. Our maze is now connected, and we got a automatically activated proto turret. We're going to put our Claymore, we're going to put one of our Claymores right here, because an ammo depot will go right here to boost it later, and we're going to go for full LMGs plus a trajectory analyzer, because this is one of the most efficient buildings in the entire game, except for one thing: it has really bad range. But if we can extend that range, now it's going to be making use of these AA cannons to shred any air enemies, and it's not going to be focusing on enemies on this path here. So this gives us a significant amount of air defense. I want more upfront shielding on our main, because this is the path that is most vulnerable. Now, the nice thing about the Alpha Lekos is that it will always take the longest possible path to the HQ. And that's part of the reason that we designed the path like this, is because there's lots of enemies that take the longest path. It's an important trait that we're taking advantage of, that we're abusing, that they will always try to find the longest possible path from their entry point to the HQ. So light mortar efficiency is really good here. I do also like werewolf positions. Cheaper miridors, that can be useful later. I think I'm going to go for the cheaper miridors and the werewolf. We have a lot of buildings that we could potentially upgrade. So I'm going to go for easy access shrapnel Warden. These are my big AoE batteries that I like to make use of. I would love to find a height 3 tile in like an actually good position to make use of this scout tower. Ooh, what if I put it right there, adjacent to this gravity well? I give it large squad, C2 mine launcher, and compact charges. So now it's doing AoE slow pretty effectively near the main branch of the HQ. It's just softening people up, doing a little bit of crowd control. So you can see here comes the Krylos, right? And they fly right overhead of this Claymore position, getting shredded. And that was the goal of having the Claymore here, so that they're not shooting at the enemies on the main path. Okay, extra miridors. Miridors are really, really useful, in particular for dealing with stealth enemies, and we do have a lot of stealth. I'm going to re-roll. Here's a corner piece. Perfect. We'll explain this corner piecing that we're doing here later on as well. Here is a height 3 tile for a miridor. We're going to go special reinforcement, long barrel, so it actually reaches the main path, and then veteran reinforcement for the Daka. So now this tower should do pretty damn good damage over time. You can see the Claymore anti-air really kicking in over here. Very proud of that. Miridor efficiency is super good, especially because I am getting some miridors. Upgrade cost being reduced is also not terrible, especially if I want to make use of, say, for example, use that to get the Sanction Cannon with the sanctified shells. And I think I will go for the Sanction Cannon sanctified shells. I think that's really fantastic. And I'm going to upgrade you because having a little bit of extra HQ HP is really good. We'll go for reinforced frame as well, because that just gives you that little bit of extra HP, you know, if anyone does try to get close to the main. I'm quite glad that we didn't get any of the mucos. The mucos are my least favorite because they're just really hard to deal with, the splitters. So some of the Krylos are still getting through. We are going to need more anti-air. In particular, next wave is going to be sort of a rubber meets the road moment. I'm going to grab myself another Sanction cannon, and the scent of frizzled meat is also fine. I'm going to re-roll. I want a corner piece really bad. Okay, perfect. So, important things about this corner piece. You know what I talked about loops earlier? This loop is also true. Enemies will want to take, like half of the enemies are going to want to take this longer loop. And what this will effectively do is make some of, roughly 50% of the enemies will now take a longer path to the HQ, giving me more time to kill them. I need anti-air. The Sanction cannon can eventually be anti-air, but it isn't right now. But if I position it right here, it's not going to be super efficient in that position. What if I instead built a height 3 Daka miridor that would help with incoming flying dudes, and a height 3 sturdy bunker pointing this direction with the reinforced pivot, the second heavy Venkador, and the solid foundation, because now it's going to prioritize attacking air units in this zone. So I'm not concerned about land units right now. It's all air that has me worried. Like, the Pendors aren't a big problem, aside from the fact that they will sometimes absorb big damaging shots that should be aimed at the Krylos. Yeah, look at that Krylo. He got really close. Okay, we managed to get through it. Okay, perfect. Enemy distraction working. Beautiful. Claymore defense efficiency. Ooh, I really want that ammo depot. That ammo depot could do a lot for us. +2 light mortars isn't terrible. So I'm going to put the ammo depot right here, I think. And I'm going to go, this is going to give a 20% damage and rate of fire boost to all adjacent buildings. So these 4 buildings are now just doing 1.2 times 1.2, which is about, it's a lot more DPS. Here, I'll just give you 1.2 times 1.2. It's 144%, which is about a 45% DPS increase. And then we add another 5% and another 5%. And then we can use tech to give them extra range. I'm also going to go ahead and buy the centralized targeting for the extra 15% damage against air. That's going to make all of my buildings a lot more efficient against air. You can see there, like this guy does 300% damage against air. And then the shared interpolations will give these buildings extra range, meaning they'll be able to reach out and tap the air from a higher distance. You definitely still want to be a Reaper. You're only on height 2, so I'm going to go for the solid foundation rather than the high ground expertise. Solid foundation is really good. I like the rate of fire, reload speed, etc. It's a very cost-effective upgrade. You're going to go for heavy shells and then probably overcharged ammunition, although the Warden protocol wouldn't be bad on you. It's still 100% damage and +1 range, and you're already in a really good position, and it's a lot cheaper. Okay, let's send some waves. So one thing that I need to start considering is softening up my foes. You can see these Parasis guys, they're kind of getting through with a lot of HP. Like, obviously we're cleaning them up now, but we need to start thinking about that. Another Sanction cannon goes crazy here, by the way. Reroll. I only want corner pieces from now on, as it's a way for me to make my maze effectively longer. The Mega Mucos is a problem, as is the Tourist. We're gonna need, ooh, a Durandal right here actually goes crazy because it gets the +1 range. It's on height 3, so it gets the 25% damage and +1 range and detection. If we give it long barrel, it even has more uptime. If we give it heavy payload, this might even be a blessed machine right here. I think this is a blessed machine, actually. I think we're gonna save for that. Let's see if we can save up the resources to make this a blessed machine. The Durandal targets the enemy with the most HP in range, so it's extremely good for bringing down the health of Mega Mucos and Tourists, who are extremely high health enemies. Extra supply and reinforcement is nice. We're saving up for the blessed machine. Let's send another wave. I would also like to get more Durandals. Failing that, I will build some sturdy bunkers. Yeah, it looks like we're actually nailing them. Oh, an advanced sturdy bunker. I'm going to take that money, though, because that'll allow me to... I can't afford to take the double HQ HP, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to re-roll it twice. We didn't quite get what we were hoping for. That's okay. We'll just plant that there. All right, let's grab the blessed machine. I'm going to build myself a sturdy bunker here, overwatching, reinforced pivot, Reaper cannon, solid foundation. I just wanted to soften up enemies. Let's do another one right there. We'll also upgrade that one. Reinforced pivot, Reaper cannon, solid foundation. They're not on height 3, which loses a lot of the efficiency of this, in my opinion. Yeah, I love seeing this nice big AoE slow happening. This Durandal position did like 34,000 damage. The Sanction cannon did 26,000. You did 11,000, so you're not even that bad. Plasma fence is crazy good. Oh, but I don't know if we can afford it. It's so expensive, but it's also so good. The Durandal is also crazy good, 7%. I'm going to go for the plasma fence. If we can make it through this round, a plasma fence parked like right here goes crazy. Let's put a Brightest Nest right there. Got 40 supply production. I don't even know if that's worth placing a tower there. I suppose, you know what? It's probably worth it. We'll put it there. So these Mega Mucos, the thing I'm most scared about are these, the Mega Mucos. The tourists are pretty scary, but it's the Mega Mucos, because those guys split, and when they split, it's bad. Although I do have a lot of Werewolves, which is a pretty good counter to them. Building cost per shield, per battlefront. Extra damage to shields is pretty good. The Tourist has a lot of shield. The Brighta has a lot of shield. We're dealing with a significant amount of shield, but we already, like, I don't think, like, it's not like we don't clear shield pretty good already. Then again, do we really care about just a 7% reduction in building? I think we'll just go for the shield damage. It's a little bit more DPS. Give me a reroll. I shouldn't have rerolled that. That was a mistake. I messed up there. I didn't realize I had a corner piece. It's okay. Just make that longer. Let's put a plasma fence right here. So anything that gets through the current gauntlet of DPS has to make it through this 3,800 HP plasma fence. The plasma fence is pretty decent at dealing with certain Mega Mucos. It's okay at dealing with the Tourist. I just need this Tourist not to turn. Okay, perfect. They're going the slightly longer path. That's good, that's good, that's good. Let's get another Warden Werewolf. Oh, they're even going like the super long route, which is ideal. Now, these guys do not have rear guards, so they don't have to do that. I'm going to get myself another ammo depot, in particular because an ammo depot right here goes crazy. Oh, we're going to be dealing with a Coleptus swarm. We do have extra shield damage, though, which is good. Let's get you right here. I'm going to go for staging area, shared interpolations. And I would like to get a Claymore boosted off this as well, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I want Warden Protocol on you, too. We might just have to we might just have to take our licks as they come. I'm going to play on a lower speed because sometimes the higher speeds actually... enemies... Maybe they move like a little quicker on higher speeds and then maybe they don't get hit by quite as much stuff. You know what I mean? Now, if any of these guys turn left here, like into the HQ, it's game over for me. But statistically, we got a good chance that they won't. Right? Okay. We rolled the dice, and we got lucky. We're doing okay here. You can see, we've tricked the enemies into walking the longer path. That was part of the plan. And it worked out so nicely. Mortar efficiency is good. I do think bastions are strong. Minus wave is painful, but building costs isn't so bad because I think it's only on the actual construction. Straight piece, whatever. Bad luck. I could put a Claymore here. It is +1 range from that. It would help with the air problem as well. This mortar does a lot of damage, but I'm going to go ahead and sell it, and we'll put a bastion there next turn once its cost isn't doubled. But you can see the second Claymore now. It's adding an extra layer of LMG fire to the Krylo defense, which is the main goal. I am very worried about the final wave. Coleptus are pretty hard for my defense setup to deal with. But that's why I want to build like a bastion to hopefully maybe we can get some plasma cannons just shredding them. Could get the Werewolf position. I think the ammo depot is really good here. What if we put a Sanction cannon right there? We did spotters, piercing shells, and sanctified shells, and then put a ammo depot in between these two and went full right side. Because now they'll just like fire in a battery of insanity. And I believe they target the most HP as well. So the two of them are just like firing down mid. Okay, okay. We're looking juicy, we're looking good. Super heavy plasma could go crazy here, depending on the positioning. Corner, yes, so we've added another split to the road. The enemies are going to be even more confused. I think maybe we upgrade the plasma fence. Yeah, I think we're going to go for the plasma fence upgrades here. All right, here we go. This is it. This is the final wave, man. This is the make or break. This is if we win or we lose. Okay, we've got big AoE happening in here, which is thinning out the hordes. Now, the big guys are being left. Nobody's hit the plasma fence yet. We got the first people hitting it. It's going to start chomping down the HP, but that's okay. We'll soon have enough money to double its HP. Boom. And now it's going to take a big chunk out of some of these tourists and stuff, even killing them. But the plasma fence regenerates pretty damn quick, so it will catch even more stuff in a moment. Alright, nice. It's catching a lot. See here, it's already done 21,000 damage. That's not bad. I think we got this in the bag as long as this guy isn't taking the short... He's already dead, never mind. Alright, and that's how, like, that's how you beat Frontier 19 on your first shot. Highest difficulty mode in the game. Alright, Paragon Assault Group, practically, you can do this with any Paragon Assault Group. If you know how to play, if you know what you're doing, look at those Sanction cannons, dude. They're definitely getting nerfed. Like, the Werewolf positions were pretty good. The miridors were pretty good. The Claymores did work. I mean, look, I placed that plasma fence, like, at the end of the game, and look, it did better than, like, my scout hideout. You know what I mean? Like, this thing is crazy. It is a tier 3 building, to be fair. Oh, let's see how far into Endless we can get now. Oh, light mortar efficiency ain't bad. We're going to be dealing with a Vegas now, so we do need to start thinking about how do we get big damage on the Vegas. It's an important consideration. He'll be here in a couple of waves. Ooh, we need to slow down because we're getting some bad guys getting close here. Nobody turning to be annoying yet. Plasma fence is holding. I'm going to go ahead and take the unstable field to make the plasma fence even stronger, as it acts as a really nice stopping point for a lot of the melee enemies. Ooh, yeah, the Mucos is a dangerous boy. Another plasma fence, that would go crazy, I think. Four-way splitter. We don't need to do a four-way splitter, so if we can get a corner piece, I'll take a corner piece. Just keep making the swaybacks, man. Make that path long. And you know what? I do think a Omega emitter here with the damage boosts could do some work, because it's just going to beam down main, catching enemy after enemy after enemy. Like, it's already done 7,000. It's only fired once. Now it's firing again. So it's just beaming. Oh man, this right here, this feels like a screenshot. I got that one. So what did you do? 26,000 damage? That's pretty respectable. Ooh, Werewolf efficiency could be really good. We have a lot of Werewolves, so we will scale nicely off that. The 7% building discount's not completely worthless. I wouldn't mind some more platforms. We don't have any. I do think that we lack good positions for the heavy plasma cannon, but I think this right here is not a terrible one. We'll give it range, shattering, and overloading. We'll save up for it. Right, so here comes the big boy, the Vegas. The Vegas. Now, important thing about the Vegas is they are rear guards. They will always go the longest path. And they are big and they are tanky. They take a lot of damage, which means they're going to absorb a lot of attacks from things like the most HP Durandal. Anything that shoots most HP, they're going to be just eating damage from. But they are relatively expensive for the aliens to send at you, right? Like if you imagine, you know, the aliens have a sort of like invisible budget for, you know, what they're going to send at you. The Vegas, I think, is it uses up a lot of their supply, basically. Now, but they will always go the longest path. So that's just something important about them. Whichever path has the most tiles. We might not get the kill here. You know what? Look, we just barely got him. 10% damage at fire rate and reload speed on the super heavy pulse. Love it. I would love another corner piece. There we go. Making that nice and long. Classified sight. Very cool. All right, let's upgrade you with shattering charge, and then we'll save up for overloading cells. Wave 39. We're 3 waves away from the Omega Mucos, the Lakos, and the Sanatrope. The Lakos can be dealt with pretty effectively with things like plasma fences and barricades. I think a second plasma fence right here will probably do the trick. The Omega emitter is also doing a significant amount of damage as well, which is really nice. Alright. Yeah, the super heavy pulse cannon is just like stonking the enemy, man. Should probably give you long barrels, but I want to save up for the overloading cells too. We don't have a whole lot of damage on the back line. Eventually we might be able to make something out of that. I wouldn't mind another super heavy plasma right here. Let's see, Division HQ. This is better if you have tech. It's also a pretty good DPS tower if you have a high point for it. The electric arc cannon is a pretty good tier 3. The sanction cannon's a really good tier 2. I'm going to go for the electric arc cannon. There's probably a position somewhere where I can make a lot of use out of it. Let's give you the overloading cells, so now you do about quadruple DPS, but in bigger chunks, basically. We did the maths on... I think we either did it on a stream or something where we calculated like the super heavy pulse defense, how much damage does it do, etc, etc, etc. And you can see it's already up to 70k damage. Like it shreds. It shreds, bro. Alright, let's get long barrels plus veteran reinforcement, so you just do that little bit more DPS here. Another sanction cannon. I do think Durandal efficiency super good. I want to re-roll. Yes, corner piece on the first roll. Beautiful. Making that path more complicated, more convoluted, more difficult for our enemies. We've got the triple electric fence coming up. These 3 tiles here, I think they're the only 3 tiles in my entire maze that 100% of enemies have to walk through that I can put a plasma fence on. Like, technically there's actually a 5-tile run here where enemies have to walk, but you have to have both sides, terrain on both sides to place a plasma fence. Alright, nice. We're getting it. Oh, okay, we got him. He was close. He potentially has enough health to just one-shot us, so we do need to watch out for those guys. Warwolf position efficiency, love it. Getting more out of what we've already invested into is a great one. We're on to Endless Wave 42. We've got the Omega Mucos, the big one. We've got the Lakos. We've got the Sanatrope. We got big old boys coming for us. I do want to think about getting that +5 recon production. However, it also might be good for me to get a bastion somewhere. Here's a +3 bastion. What if I gave it high ground expertise, the pulse cannon, and the ammo storage? So now this is a big DPS zone as enemies go further along in the maze. Something to be said for, like, what if we had another Sanction cannon pointing in the right direction? Not quite able to find the good position for that. Claymore, let's give you the trajectory analyzer just so you have that little bit more range, a little bit more efficiency. I'm not against getting a decimation position as well. It's hard to find one that really does a lot of work, but this one right here, it's so close to being like perfect. If I was able to maybe move it, right there is fine. We do want to rotate it once though, so that the frag launchers are on the sides like this. And then we go for the mortar fire control. That's going to make these mortars a little bit more efficient. And then it makes sense now to put mortars on this straight line with the learning machines. So if we got a flat tile over here, I would put a lot more mortars on it if I could. Start getting these mortars pointed the right direction, oriented for violence. We got a trio of mortars here. Hopefully we get more of those decimation positions. So again, Omega Mucos, it's a big enemy. You will get some flocks of smaller enemies, but as the game goes later and later, you're going to be dealing with the big boys. Plasma fence doing its job. The Omega Mucos is a really big problem though, because once it starts splitting, it's just like its health. It becomes difficult to manage. Now the nice thing is that it's also a rear guard enemy, so it will always go the longest path. But you can see, like, we're already struggling to suppress them. Now, the sheer amount of AoE we have is doing a lot for us. Still a problem, bro. All right, werewolf position efficiency. That's amazing. Come on, give me a corner piece. Perfect. Nice, another corner piece. That's going to change the path again. Enemies are going to be looping back and forth for a long time. Bloop, 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 bloop. I definitely need more targets the strongest enemy stuff. I wouldn't mind another bastion right there. This one did like 10k damage, which isn't terrible. Here's a +3 Warden position. I'll go heavy shells, shrapnel, overcharged ammunition. That's going to be a big DPS right there. I'm going to put a wall here. Underground network, reinforced, adjacent. Fire rate. Put some more mortars along this lane. Not going to be the most efficient towers, but they're relatively cost efficient. The more damage we can get down on the map, the better, really. This is kind of where my head is at. Alright, beautiful. We're nailing them. Wave 46, that's when the rubber meets the road here, when we're going to be going up against the Threxid, which is the strongest and most dangerous enemy in the game. He's a scary boy. I really need that werewolf expertise for the extra range. It makes such a huge difference. Nailed him. I really don't need this extra supply. The division relay is cool. I mean, the nice thing is if I take first batch, I take it out of the pool, which means I won't get it. I can't get it again in my rolls. Tempted to put a Claymore right there with barrage trajectory so that we have a really strong anti-air lane right there. I'm going to put a miridor right here as a late game DPSer. I'd like to get the Tesla, the electric arc cannon down. Like I like to call the Tesla. This is because, like, Command and Conquer players, everything with electricity is just Tesla. Give me a +3. No, I need some. I need some platforms if I can get them. This is oftentimes one of the things that I struggle with in the late game. Is just like, can I get enough platforms to make super efficient buildings, or do I have to kind of compromise and make kind of crappy buildings and live with the decisions? And I think right now we're in the crappy building, crappy building zone. Alright, nice. Hopefully we can kill all these guys. Again, I would really love to get the werewolf thing. Oh! Okay, we almost died. Whew. Ooh, Rampart Missile Silo, Sanction Can. These two actually will help us scale really nicely into the late game. These are two incredibly good late game buildings, actually. So the Air Command is really good because it allows you to get a consistent DPS. The Rampart's really good because it allows you to scale up your sturdy bunkers and also gives you extra sturdy bunkers, so you can do a lot with that. This one gives you the early warnings, which gives you 10% damage against air units, which is very strong. I don't know if we need Discovery, but Discovery isn't bad. I think I'm going to go for the Recon production, the air, just so that we have more, potentially more rerolls. I'm going to go for the air damage because we do have some air units, and then I'll grab myself a second command, like so. And I'll put the 2 smoke signals pointing down the lane, so that the bombs are just bombing that direction. That's the money spent. We'll go for the Rampart Missile Silo next. Oh yeah, look at that, dude. This is so much bad guys. Look at those Lakos, okay? This is what the plasma fence was built for, dude. Look at those Lakos. They just walk into it and die. People are like, oh, you need more towers to target, you know, you need detection towers. I'm like, do you? Do you really? Or do you need to get good at the game? Think about it. Okay, yeah, we're taking a lot of damage from this plasma fence. It's fine. They do damage. Do. Alright, worried a little bit about this approach, so I'm going to slow down the game as chunk. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Oh, very nice. Plus 1% damage per sturdy bunker and miridor. That's so good. We definitely want a Rampart Missile Silo. We're on the final wave. No. Yes, we are. I'm just going to plop it right here. I'm going to take the improved system, defensive network, and then we're not going to go for the warhead. Now we want to put some sturdy bunkers in really, really good positions that cover where these Threxids are going to go, because we need a lot of anti-air to kill them. So I'm going to go reinforced pivot for the fire rate and reload speed. I'm going to go second heavy Venkador to double the DPS of this thing, because it'll have 2 of them, and the solid foundation will increase it as well. So now this thing does like 600 DPS or whatever to Threxids in range, and we're going to be looking for positions to set these up. I also want a Claymore somewhere. Good. This is the problem with not getting many platform rolls, is that it's hard to position your Claymores. The Claymores I feel like the Claymore is the hardest building in the game to position. So we're just not going to bother. The Puma is a little bit easier to position. Let's put it right there. I'm going to give it anti-air design, hydraulic recoil, and the quad barrel. And then I want to get another one of those, like right here, because these are going to be my last stand against the Threxid threat. These boys right here. The Threxid. The problematic ones. An enemy you've probably never seen before. It's literally just these guys coming, so all we need is anti-air. But look at that, the HP bar on these boys hasn't even begun to move. It'll only really start moving when some of my anti-air and the rest of my towers start chunking them. Yeah, see, they float over those plasma fences, which is a problem. I'm worried, man. Not about these guys, but about these guys. These are the scary ones. Like this heavy Venkador right here, look at the damage stacking up from this thing being in range. Like it did 7,000 damage to that thing, which is like a rounding error on its HP, bro. Yeah, it's a problem. I think we're dead. I've only managed to beat this wave like maybe like 1 in 5, maybe like somewhere between 1 in 3 and 1 in 5. But I usually die to these Threxids unless I get like good anti-air. like potentially multiple... Oh, boom, dead. But we made it all the way to the final wave of Super Endless. So we got a victory plus. And hopefully this proves that I have mastered the amazing mechanics. And now you can too. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!